Hi, welcome to Focus on Liberia. I am the West African correspondent, Edward Amara. Welcome to the latest news update on the continent of Africa. Focus on Liberia uses particular platform to ensure that we come to you with the latest development on the continent, news that affect Africa as a whole. We come to you with breaking news, things that happen within the week, and even the news that happen during the time of our event broadcast. Feel free, feel honored, and feel part of this all-important program. As Africa is a continent that is full of enthusiastic news headlines, development, breakout, and whatsoever thing. Focus on Liberia is a very huge program which normally ensures that we have all latest news on the continent, and this news normally help us maybe to be abreast on what of the continent, and also it report the continent to us and also us to the continent. Today we have basically we are going to have different style of the program. One, we have special report on Kenyan, and also we have special report on Niger. Then we also have another report on Sudan, and also we will definitely see how Kenya courts clear way for a controversial bill that actually threw the country of late into political chaotic situation. So as I said, we are going to have this very special report on Niger. Now, let's see the latest development in Niger. Niger's democratically elected president, Mohamed Bazoum, has been overthrown by the very people who we are supposed to protect and uphold his office, the presidential guide who stood and watched outside his palace. President Bazoum was the first elected leader to succeed another in Niger since independence in 1960. Now his captors have suspended the country's constitution and installed General Abdurrahmani Tijani as head of state. Niger is a key part of the African region, known as the Sahel, a belt of land that stretches from the Atlantic Ocean to the Red Sea. The area is plagued with jihadists and beset by military regimes. West African nations had looked to Niger, Western nation has looked to Niger as a bulwark against further disorder and spreading Russian influence in the region, but that turned out to be short-lived. Here is what you need to know about the crisis in Niger. Why should the world care about Niger? As the largest country in West Africa, it is be-water state in many ways. Politically, it has been as an example of relative democratic stability, while its neighbors Mali and Burkina Faso had already succumbed to military coups. Strategically, it hosts the French and US military bases and is seen as key partner in the fight against Islamic insurgents. In fact, the US State Department described Niger as an important as a linchpin for stability in the Sahel and a reliable counter-terrorism partner against various Islamic groups like either Islamic State or Al-Qaeda. Economically, it is rich in uranium production, 7% of all global supplies. The radioactive metal looms so large in the country's economy that one of the greatest thoroughfares in the capital, Niamey, is named the Avenue de Uranium. However, much of the mining is done by the French firearms. Why Niger's people consistently rank as having the lowest standard of living anywhere in the world? Why did the coup happen? The Sahel region is a turbulent and unstable part of the world, and democracy is currently in threat there. Violent Islamic groups have gained ground by controlling territory and conducting attacks in a triple border region between Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso. The numerous the mutinous soldiers in Niger have cited this worsening security situation as a reason for their uprising, although Niger was handling the insurgency for better than Mali and Burkina Faso before their own coups. The growing unrest has some believe that only harsh military crackdowns can solve the problem. Hence, the popular support that the coups seem to enjoy in some quarters. However, it is far from clear that a military junta would have greater success in tackling the insurgent than the recently ousted government. The takeover in neighboring countries have not made much difference. Did the coup in Mali and Burkina Faso halt jihadist attack? What's the international reaction to the coup? France, the former colonial power, has seen sting in its condemnation of the military coup. A statement by the French foreign minister said, Bazoum was the country's sole leader, adding that France does not recognize the authorities resulting from the push led by General Tichin. It added that France reaffirmed in the strongest term the clear demands of the international community, calling for immediate restoration of constitutional order and democratically elected civilian government in Niger. The U.S. General Secretary Antony Blinken, or Secretary of State Antony Blinken, has called for the president's immediate release. While the African Union, the West African Regional Bloc, ECOWAS, the EU, and the UN have all spoken out against the coup. The only voice in favor has been that of the leader of Russia Wagner mercenary, Yevgeny Prigozhin, who has reportedly described it as a triumph. What happened in Niger is nothing other than the struggle of people of Niger with their colonizers. He was quoted as saying on a Wagner-affiliated Telegram channel, although his comments have not been independently verified. What's it got to do with Russia and Wagner? As well as the jihadist group, the Wagner mercenaries who are active elsewhere in the region have seen as exercising a military malign influence in Niger. Some supporters of the coup have been seen waving the Russian flag alongside that of Niger. Coup supporters unfurled a Russian flag as they take to the street after the army seized power in Niamey, Niger. Supporters of the coup have been waving Russian flag. Before the coup, President Bazoum had complained of disinformation campaigns by the Wagner against his government. And there is little doubt that the Wagner, which has exploited mineral resources in other African countries to fund its operation, would like to do the same in Niger. The U.S. has said there is no indication that the Wagner force were involved in the overthrow of President Bazoum, but added that the situation continues to be quite fluid. Niger coup makes troubled region yet more fragile. Now, there are concerns that Niger's new leadership would move away from its Western allies and become closer to Russia. If it does, it would follow the footsteps of Burkina Faso and Mali, which have both pivoted towards Moscow since their own military coups. What other global consequences could the coup have? President Bazoum's government has been a partner to European countries trying to stop the flow of migrants across the Mediterranean, agreeing to take back hundreds of migrants from detention centers in Libya. He has also cracked down on human traffickers in what had been a key transit point between other countries in West Africa and those further north. That may now be all cancelled. That is what is at stake in Niger. We all know Niger is a very difficult country, and watching a situation like this, it is actually creating huge trouble, and people are definitely concerned. So that is what the special report that came actually for Niger. Let's see the Sudanese RSF, the Rapid Support Forces of the Sudanese Forces, of the Sudanese rebel group, have actually, the leader, Dagalo or Hamdidi, have actually come on television after it was alleged that he was severely wounded by the army, or the Sudanese army that was actually fighting against his own rapid support forces. And we also know that this so-called rapid support forces of the paramilitary, who are also known as the Janjaweed militia, and this particular group was created, if not established, by the detained president, Omar al-Bashir. He used that particular group in the form of Janjaweed militia to install himself into power. And it was that same group and the current leadership, Hamdidi, that betrayed Omar al-Bashir to ensure that he was being arrested and dethroned. So I think he did it in the name of him controlling the army, when he realized that the man was so powerful and he was the leader on affairs for quite a long time. Now there is huge fight between the two forces, the Sudanese army and the rapid support forces. He actually came on air in a 5-minute television or video clip that he uploaded on his Facebook page, Instagram, and YouTube, by claiming that he was not wounded and he has never fallen casualty to any of the so-called allegations made by Al-Buham. He also claimed that the best way for him to bring peace, or for peace to reign into the Sudan, is when the Sudanese leadership or army leadership changes. That is by Al-Buham either resigning or him being captured. And he vowed strongly to ensure that he bring Al-Buham to book. And he said, should Al-Buham resign, the war in Sudan will end in 72 hours. He also expressed concern for the Sudanese who are dying on a daily basis, and said they are not responsible for the looting that is taking place into Khartoum, Darfur, and other regions. He also alleged that all of those rape, killing, maybe forceful conscription of especially the males into a kind of war in faction have never been done by his military. Rather, these are all the strategy being placed by Al-Buham. However, he promised that peace will reign in Sudan whenever Al-Buham decides to resign or he is being captured. He said without that, he heavily doubts if whether Sudan will definitely has the peace that they need. So this situation is never encouraging nor discouraging. However, it still raises a lot of questions on what may be the fate of the Sudanese army or the Sudanese people against their own brothers and sisters, because they are fighting themselves in the name of controlling a country that is deeply divided, a country that is situated between the Russia mentality, which have the Wagner group based there, and they are definitely supporting the Janjaweed militia or the rapid support forces or the paramilitary. They are so powerful to understand. So that is for Sudan. And let us take another special report on Kenya. Kenya has actually suffered from a cyber attack, and that resulted maybe into a lot of economic setback for the country, and also stopped maybe visa issuing of licenses to different type of categories of citizens. So let's listen to the report from Kenya. Okay, the Kenyan government has been fighting off a huge cyber attack that has affected services on the key government online platform for almost a week. The attack has also affected some private companies along the extent although the extent is not yet clear. There are still questions over who was behind it and what was the motive, what has happened. The government has confirmed that there was a cyber attack on the eCitizen portal used by the public to access over 500 or 5,000 government services. This was after people complained. This was after people complained about the poor services being rendered by the Kenyan government. Okay, several days over difficulties accessing services on the portal, including passport application and renewal, using e-visas for foreigners visiting the country, issuing driving licenses, identification card, and national health reports or record. The government has Okay, the government was forced to promise visas on arrival for visitors who would have qualified for e-visas due to the challenges with the eCitizen system. There were also disruption to train booking system and payment for electricity. Mobile money banking services were also affected, and people relying on the popular mobile money service M-Pesa to make payment at shops, public transport, vehicles, hotels, and other platforms also experienced difficulties. Safaricom, which operates the service, is yet to officially comment, and it is not clear whether the economy was affected by the setback. What happens? The government has been pushing people to use online government services, and this, coupled with widespread adoption of mobile money payments, meant many Kenyans felt the impact of the attack. Some 76% of Kenyans use the mobile money, while 67% use the mobile internet. Confirming the attack, Information, Communication and Digital Economic Minister Ilud Uwalu stressed that no data had been accessed or lost, although the hackers behind it had claimed to have stolen data. Senior minister officers on Friday held a meeting with the private sector players to discuss issues about cyber security, although it is not clear whether this was triggered by the attack or had been pre-planned. The government says it has managed to block the sources of the attack, although the intermittent interruptions continue to affect the normal speed and access of service on the online platform. Who was behind the attack? A group calling itself Anonymous Sudan has claimed responsibility. It portrayed itself as a group of Sudanese cyber warriors and has sworn to attack anyone who tries to interfere in the internal affairs of Sudan, but it is believed to have links to Russia. The group outwardly supports Russia and has become an affiliate of the pro-Russian hacking group Killnet. It denies having links to the famous international hackquist collective Anonymous. Anonymous Sudan emerged in January this year and has become extremely prolific, carrying out regular attacks that can be classed as disruptive but not sophisticated. The group has mostly been posting its messages on Telegram channel, where a warning of an impending attack on Kenyan system was posted on Sunday. It says it attacked the country because Kenya has been attempting to meddle in Sudanese affairs and release statements doubting the sovereignty of our government. The Sudanese government has frequently rejected Kenyan President William Ruto's attempt to mediate in the ongoing conflict between the Sudanese military and the paramilitary Rapid Support Forces, RSF, accusing him of lacking neutrality. Last week, a video showing a Sudanese general taunting President Ruto and the Kenyan army went viral. Then, a member of parliament belonging to Mr. Ruto's party recorded a video which was also widely shared, hitting back at the general. Last week, BBC cyber correspondent Jotidi interviewed a respective Anonymous Sudan over Telegram along with a cyber researcher called Ita Cocktail. The group denied having links to Russia. Those claims are baseless and false. We sometimes write in Russian simply because there are many Russian members in our channel, the spokesperson said. However, report by cybersecurity provider Trisad released earlier this year highlighted that Anonymous Sudanese Telegram account lists its user location as Russia. Researchers from cyber security companies like Madinant and Trustwave suggest the group could be working with or for the Kremlin, but neither has proven it. Nathaniel Allen, a cybersecurity expert from the African Center for Strategic Study, told the BBC there was no doubt it was pro-Russian hacking group. It's a pro-Russian hacking group that, despite its name, it does not appear to have verifiable links leakages with the country of Sudan. He said its tools, techniques, and practices mirrors those of other Russian hacking groups. And if you look at the group target, they are mostly Western and West-aligned countries and government. It does not appear to have attacked any target in Russia itself. In June, during the Wagner mutiny, the group declared its support for the criminal. They explain it in this way: we don't care or focus on Russia affairs, but a similar thing happened to our country, and Russians stood with us, so we wanted to pay them back. Joe Tiddy said it wasn't possible to draw any firm conclusion about the group's true identity from the interview he conducted. How was the attack carried out? It was mainly DDoS, distributed digital of service, known as DDoS, a tried and tested method used by the hackers to flood online services with traffic in an attempt to overwhelm the system and cause it to go offline. Anonymous Sudan used the same method in their attack against Microsoft service in June, their most high-profile previously. They tried jamming the system by making more than ordinary requests into the system. It started by slowing down the system, said the information minister. Bright Gamili, a Kenyan-based cybersecurity expert, believed insiders could be involved. Those to critical endpoints are never random. One needs to know a lot of information to know exactly where to hit, thus bringing a lot of system to a halt. He said, we are lucky there hasn't been an exfiltrated of data, because that would have been embarrassing. How well prepared was Kenya? Mr. Allen said that Kenya is probably as well prepared as many governments in Africa to respond to such attacks. It has a well-deployed cybersecurity and computer security imaging response team. It ranks 51st out of 182 countries on the UN ITU Cybersecurity Commitment Index. However, he pointed out that the country was badly affected so many different ways shows the dangers of becoming independent on digital technology for critical economic functions without taking cybersecurity seriously. To some extent, countries across Africa are prioritizing digital development rather than cybersecurity when it is becoming increasingly clear the two need to go hand in hand. That was a special report on Kenya. Kenya is really suffering from the cyber attack, and most of its citizens suffer as a dire consequence based on the group that have actually been accused are pro-Russian, although it has vehemently denied any link with it, and there are no proofs whether Russia is being linked with the group or the group have its home in Russia. So finally, the law that asks Kenya, or that enforce Kenya, or that enforce Raila Odinga to actually ask Kenyans to come on street to protest, which resulted into the death of 30 people, was definitely passed in law today. Passed by Parliament and maybe satisfied by the Supreme Court. And that has resulted into the death of over 30 Kenyans. Raila Odinga is now threatening that come Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, they are going to stage another serious protest, which will definitely throw the country into another chaotic situation. That law has rising the petroleum product in Kenya from 8% to 16%. Staple fuel have also, prices have skyrocketing, transportation system have been disrupted, and peace have never been successful into Kenya.